my friends, and welcome to episode 121 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudius Pera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Kiss Army, on our show tonight, we have the voice, the heart and soul, and the very knowledgeable co-host of Podcast Rock City. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sonny HOLLYWOOD Pooni. I've always wanted to say that. Welcome to the show, my friend.
It's great to be here, and the best part about this show is I made it here before Casada did.
You make sure he knows that.
Oh, he will.
God.
What's the story between you two on the show?
Yeah, there is none. We actually just met each other probably a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But he's a huge wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So if you, and I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but if you ever watched wrestling when you were a kid, there was always these like weird rivalries that would get created.
Right.
And then you would find things like I'm a Cowboys fan, but he's a Giants fan. So it just makes it worse. Right. So it just kind of spun, and we just have such different opinions that it just kind of, got into this thing. We get listeners all the time that call us and go, "Hey, you guys okay? Like, are you guys going to be all right? Why are you guys fighting all the time?" It's just something that happens.
Oh, no, I love the banter between the two of you. It's so much fun.
Hey, Sonny, it's such a pleasure to have you, our friend. It's a real honor, and thank you for your time. And this is going to be a fun episode. So, thanks again for being here with us.
No, pleasure to be on. Pleasure.
There you go. Okay, we're gonna get it going. So let's begin this episode talking about Podcast Rock City. So, Sonny, how did you get involved with the show?
Yeah, so I was traveling a lot for work. I think a lot of us have traveled in the past. My usual go-to was listen to music. I'm not much of a, I had Sirius Radio for a while, but I just listen to my own stuff, whether it's on, Spotify or iTunes or whatever. And I was traveling so much that you can't just listen to music when you're on the road 6, 10, 12 hours. So I slowly moved to audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a lot of patience to get through an audiobook. I'm not much of a reader or a listener. So then somebody told me about podcasts, right? Somebody was kind of selling me this. It's an audiobook, but it's in like an hour time frame, right? And you can, there's all kinds of subjects and blah, blah, blah. So, being the Kiss nerd that I am, I type in Kiss on the podcast, the platform, and I was using iTunes. And the first thing that came up was Decibel Geek. Mm-hmm. And Decibel Geek was really doing a lot of Kiss episodes at the time. Mm-hmm. And they had this thing called the Rockin' Pod. They were going to do it the first time. And they were kind of looking for donations and people that were interested in coming. And I signed up to do an episode with Podcast Rock City because I always wanted to be in radio. We'll talk a little bit about later. I wanted to be in the music business, and that didn't work out. So then I wanted to be in radio, but I got in retail. I didn't have time. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a way to do it. It doesn't pay that great. So it was like, okay, well, let me try this podcast thing. Maybe this is something I can do. So I do the episode on Podcast Rock City with Joe and Jody. Went well. I hang up that day. Okay, it is what it is. About a week later, Jody calls me in a panic because whoever they were supposed to have on that week's episode bowed out. Oh. So it's like, hey, we're going to talk about Unmasked. Do you like Unmasked? Do you want to come on? I'm like, sure. What time? Right. So do the second show. Things go great. About a week later, I get a text saying, we want to have a conference call with you. I thought I had done something wrong, that I had to apologize or something. And so we have this conference call and say, hey, would you like to join the show? I'm like, seriously? Sure. Like, what does that mean? Well, we have a weekly show. You kind of just show up and we'll tell you what the topic is. And you blink. And I've been on there 6 years. The show has been around 10 years.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been a great run. I mean, I don't really have a lot of friends I can talk to music, right? Especially Kiss. Like, even if you can talk music, they want to talk like popular stuff. And let's be honest, except for us Kiss nerds, they're not exactly super popular.
Yeah, big time. So. Interesting, interesting the way you got into the show. And you mentioned before, Sonny, about your co-hosts. So let's talk about them a little bit. So let's start with Joe.
Joe, if you've never met him, the nicest guy you will ever meet in your life. Too nice. Like, do you have a friend that's annoying nice? Right? Like, you just wish, like, you almost want to punch them because they're too nice. That's Joe.
You think like it can't be that nice, you know?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can't,
I mean, what's
right?
wrong with you? Why do you care? Right? And the other joke is he's a Kiss homer. So to me, a homer is like the band can do no wrong. Everything the band does, you must get. You must go see them. He's seen them on the End of the Road tour. I think he's on his 10th show.
Okay.
Right? So, okay, right? But the guy, there is nothing that guy won't do. And he's a collector and he's a homer, which is a dangerous combination. So the running joke is I have I got this blue copy of The Elder or whatever. It's like, really? Does it have new songs? Isn't that like the 18th copy you have?
Yeah, I know a guy. I think he's here with us now. Very pretty much the same.
Yup.
Oh my goodness! Oh, yeah. That's so funny. And what about Jody?
So Joey,
Joey, sorry.
Yeah, Jody used to be on the show. He's not on the show anymore.
Joey
Casada. He's a pain in the ass. The worst guy you'll ever meet. He's the exact opposite of any friend you want. Like, there's no way he has any friends. I'm 10,000% better than that guy. I hate that guy. Off the record, just in case anybody, wants to know off the record. He is great. He is uber talented. The guy's one of the hardest working family guys you will ever meet. When you hear him, you don't get that. But this guy is teaching kids music for a living. Oh, wow. Do you know how patient you have to be to do something like that? Mm-hmm. He's turning down active gigs, real gigs with major bands in other countries to be with his family and teach music to other kids. Like, that guy's too good. But I'm going to go back to I hate him and he's terrible.
And last but not least, what about Lee?
Wonderful woman, kind-hearted, one of the biggest Kiss fans, Gene Simmons fans you'll ever meet. She's a homer. The original four can do no wrong. I feel bad for her. She's like the sister where the two brothers are always fighting and she's always in the middle. Just like, she doesn't know what to say because we'll get down this road and she's just like, you guys are so terrible to each other. But no, just a great woman and a great Kiss fan, really.
Yourself, so after you said 10 years you've been rolling with the show, how do you see yourself fitting with this interesting group of people? So
the group needs a realist. I have become in every great movie there's a villain, and I think that somehow I ended up playing the villain because I'm willing to speak my mind, right? I don't. Kiss is my second favorite, my favorite band of all time, my second favorite musical artist of all time.
Okay.
I don't listen to any musical artist that I love everything they do, that they can do no wrong. Yeah. Every one of them has something that's like, did you have to do that? Like, really? Yeah. Right? So I just kind of tell it like it is, and sometimes people don't love that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Nice contrast. Beautiful.
Now, Podcast Rock City is it's a fun, relaxed, laid back show. And really the strength of that episode, of that show, is really the interaction with the fans. Now, our listeners know that our podcast is pre-recorded. What do you feel are the challenges of doing live episodes every week?
Well, first, you're on a clock. Mm-hmm. So you have to show up and basically punch a clock the same time every week, which that's odd. Second, have you met the Kiss Army?
Mm-hmm.
They're opinionated.
Yeah, not easy.
At times they may say things that might be a bit off color, and you're kind of dealing with it live. Mm-hmm. We can't edit ourselves, so if we end up getting passionate about something and we end up going down a road maybe we shouldn't go, there's no way from it. Luckily, we all kind of think and speak on our feet well, so we don't usually get into that kind of trouble. Mm-hmm. And then, like, if you lose your place or if we lose connection, or like all those weird things you can fix post edit.
Yeah.
You can't fix any of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The great part about it is the fans can interact with you. The listeners can straight up interact with you. So if we do a trivia episode, they can play along, which is great,
Yeah.
right? So there's some, nuances to it, but we've gotten used to it.
Have you ever tried to do a kind of a recording stuff or pre-recorded episodes?
That's where we started. We had actually started with pre-recorded episodes, would be a week ahead. I do another podcast, Growing Up Rock. I mean, we're 2 months ahead, right?
Okay.
So we did that for a while, and you get something out of that. But the issue is that we've kind of painted ourselves in a corner just pretty much talking about Kiss, right? So you try to do something different to connect with the listeners. And so that's kind of why we started doing this. But pre-recorded, yeah, we used to do that originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you start doing live shows?
We started about a year ago. We dipped our foot in about a year ago. StreamYard makes it so easy. We do it through StreamYard, and then it plays through YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So the technology has caught up to something that we wanted to do. We used to have a radio show every Wednesday night, and we used to interact with the fans on a radio show, on an internet radio show. And that's kind of where we got the idea, but we were never face to face. We were always just behind a microphone.
Right.
So the idea kind of sprawled from there.
Okay. So in all of your years doing Podcast Rock City, what was your favorite episode?
Actually, my favorite episode we just did a little while back. If you remember, Gene Simmons did an article about the 10 albums that changed his life.
Yeah.
And those 10 albums are kind of a little bit all over the place. Ace did it too, but he couldn't remember what the albums were. So we did something similar, and it wasn't just Kiss. So it was kind of nice to hear a little bit about that. Lee is a big Iron Maiden fan, right? And Joe, even though he never talks about it, is really a fan of the hair metal of the 80s.
Okay.
Right. So for some reason, Casada's a Enough's Enough fan. But so that's probably my favorite episode lately. The trivia episodes, I absolutely love. Like the Family Feud, the lyric games, the number of games, because that allows me to work my brain and put something together that's fun for me to put together. And that's kind of why, like, people, just like you said, it's like, oh, he's very knowledgeable about Kiss. Dude, I don't know a tenth of what some of these people. Have you ever met Andrew Scambatti? Like, that guy knows everything about Kiss.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know a tenth of what he knows. But I like making the games fun. Yeah. So those are usually my favorite episodes.
So when you do an episode, is there a lot of planning before an episode, or is this like you have an idea and you go on the fly?
Like right now, it's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
We have no idea what we're talking about on Sunday.
Right.
It's not
planned. Nice. That's what makes it fun, though, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it's a little bit on the fly.
So if you could interview anyone on the show, who would it be?
We have interviewed Bruce twice. We've interviewed Bob Kulick, Eric Singer, Todd Howarth, Robert Fleischman, Lydia Chris. We got Quarantine. We got Todd Kearns. We haven't interviewed any of the original four. If I had my choice, it would be Gene. I think he would be the most fun. He seems to have his wits about him the most, and he doesn't take himself too serious. I would be afraid. Like when we interviewed Todd Howarth, I asked him a question. I made him cry. And it was like a nice question. Like I was telling him about the things that I loved about him. And he started tearing up. I'm like, oh my God, I just made Todd Howarth cry, right? I'm like, what would I end up doing to Paul? I have absolutely no idea. But I wouldn't do that to Gene, right? So I think Gene would be the guy I would want to interview.
Okay.
Cool.
Interesting. And when you guys interviewed the people that you just mentioned, was that also live or it was pre-recorded?
Pre-recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when we were all pre-recorded. I think Quarantine was the only live interview we did.
Okay. So Sonny, this is so fascinating, man. But I want to know about we want to know about you. So how did you get into Kiss?
I am a MTV kid. I'm a kid of the 80s. I didn't get into music, really listening to music, till basically 1984. So that's my sophomore year in high school. One of the first videos I'd ever seen was Heaven's on Fire.
Mhm.
So I'm 14, 15 years old, seeing this guy with tassels jump through fire. Probably not too safe, right? And I remember watching the video going, God, I think I want to do that. They look like they're having a lot of fun, right? I didn't really know what I want to do in my life. I wanted to be the Lone Ranger. If you remember the Lone Ranger, that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
wanted,
Oh yeah.
right? So that's kind of how I got into Kiss. I didn't know anything about Makeup Kiss. I started with 80s Kiss, and I'm
Okay.
coming in at Animalize. My first show is Asylum. My favorite album is Asylum. So I am a non-makeup Kiss guy that goes backwards to
Okay.
find all the stuff going, oh, the guys that paint themselves are these same guys. Then you later find out, okay, they're not all the same guys,
Mhm.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you start putting two and two together. So I have a love for 80s Kiss
Mhm.
more than honestly 70s Kiss.
Okay.
If I have to pick one over the other, I usually go 80s.
Okay. Beautiful. And have you met any members of the band?
Yeah, so I've met Gene, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. I've met Bruce, nicest guy. Met Tommy. Oh my God, couldn't be a nicer guy. We
Yeah.
actually interviewed Tommy and Bruce at one of the Kiss Expos. Joe and I did, which was great.
Mhm.
Met Eric Singer, was a real nice guy.
Mhm.
I had an opportunity to meet Ace at Creatures Fest. I had everything bought, was going to go talk to him. I passed up the opportunity. I handed it to Joe and said, Joe, you do your thing.
Yeah.
There's something about, how they say don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
And there's just kind of a few folks in music I'm trying to pretty much stay away from because
Mm.
I love what they do. And I don't want my meeting with them to possibly tarnish that.
Yeah.
Right. But those now, I will tell you that I've met I've not met Paul. I'm not really interested. If I
Okay.
had a chance to meet Peter, I would probably take that chance.
Okay. Okay. And of all the chances that you had, Sonny, what was your favorite meet and greet?
Really, I haven't done a lot of meet and greets. 2018 Indie Kiss Expo, I met in 48 hours. I met Bob Kulick, Bruce Kulick, Thayer, Eric Singer, Lydia Chris, Michael James Jackson, Carrie Stevens, Bobby Rock, Robert
Wow.
Fleischman, and Todd Howard in
Yeah.
48 hours.
Wow.
I've never met any of those people.
You can't ask for more.
That's right. So it was a great time.
Nice.
Awesome.
So, if you don't mind me asking, I'm curious. So, what were you afraid of meeting Ace?
I just I've heard some horror stories that he's a little bit going through the motions. He's a little bit aloof. And there's a few like I am a huge Richie Kotzen fan. If you don't know who Richie Kotzen is,
Yeah, yeah.
I have seen him many times. I've had the opportunity to go up and say hi many times. He is a different cat, and
Yeah.
I just don't want a bad interaction and me walk away. Nothing that they're doing wrong. They're just being them. And
Yeah.
everybody wants
Yeah.
their time. Dude, if you've ever been anywhere where Ace is, he is absolutely mobbed constantly by the people.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So it's just I just want to remember what I see on stage and kind of what I've seen on video, and I'm kind of good with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, Sonny, you came on my radar a few years ago when you did some reviews for each of the CDs in the Gene Simmons vault.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like for you?
So I went to the first vault experience, and I'm usually not smart enough to kind of think through doing these experiences. But when I heard about the vault experience, I heard it was going to be in LA. I'm like, well, wait a second. Bruce lives near there. Ace lives near there. Eric lives near there. Technically, Paul lives near there. There could be other people that show up.
Yeah.
I want to be at the first one of those type of things because the first one always seems to be the most unique.
Yeah.
Right. And they're still trying to figure things out. So they kind of, anything you do the first time, you kind of overdo it. And
Yeah.
then you realize the second time you could probably hold back a little and it'll be just as good. I want to be at the Overdone one. It was at Capitol's record building.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do that. I know LA well. So it was kind of a little bit in my backyard a little bit. Amazing time. I did it with my brother. It was worth every cent. I got the vault. You know, you only get one vault. So I have it right there. Got to meet Gene. That's when I met Gene. It was absolute amazing experience. Ace showed up, Bruce showed up, Eric showed up, right? So we got to see them live. I got to get some videotape, put that on YouTube. And you know, the CDs, you know, Gene was very careful about, hey, I don't want this music getting out there. If this music gets out there, there's going to be hell to pay. And you know, Gene can be very litigious when he wants to be, and so I didn't want to be that guy. But I decided, I'm like, well, nobody's going to hear this stuff. Like, there's a select few that hear this stuff. So maybe I should write something up to try to get people at least interested in it. I will tell you, going back and reading those reviews, I'm quick to call Lee and Joe homers. I was kind of a homer when
Oh, you too.
reviews, to be honest. Because when I listen to the music again, I'm like, I gave that a B. It's like a C minus probably. But I was fresh off of the
course.
vault
Yeah.
experience, right? It was just this like this Kiss fandom was like in me for a couple of months,
Right.
and while I was writing those reviews. But it was an absolute great time.
I remember that. I don't remember how I came across them, but I remember reading your reviews before listening to the music because I wanted a context to what I was listening to. And it really heightened the experience. It was really cool. And I remember messaging you and thanking you for the reviews, you know?
And I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you doing that. You know, you write that stuff. You don't know if anybody's reading it. You don't know if anybody cares. And, you know, Julian Gill did a book that went with the vault, right? So those guys are professionals. I'm not a professional writer. I barely know how to write. Right? I work in retail for a living. I don't have to write. Right? So it was nice that people reached out. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was really cool. So regardless of price, what Kiss-related experience would you have loved to participate in or would love to participate in?
Yeah, I'll give you two. So one is the Kiss Cruise. I only got to do one Kiss Cruise because I work in retail. Damn, Kiss was always doing it right at the busiest time of the year for retail.
Halloween,
right? So it's like, come on. Like, I can't leave for a week and a half because if you're going to do that cruise, you're going to do it right. You're pretty much going to be gone 10 days.
Yeah.
So I only got to do one when they changed the date. So I think I was on Kiss Cruise 10, if I remember right. I wish I would have been able to do every cruise because I am a big enough fan and I think the price is worth it. And I like cruising to where, and I think I'm going on my 7th Monsters of Rock cruise. So, but they always have it in the spring. So it's easy to go. Right.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then the other one, which I'm just kicking myself, 1995 was an interesting year for me because I was focused at work trying to get promoted, right? I'm in my mid-20s, so I'm trying to get my career going. I met my, at that point, girlfriend, now wife, that I've been with for more than half my life. I missed the Kiss convention tour. I didn't even know it was happening, right? And if I remember right, it was $100.
Yeah.
Good Lord, $100 for a memory like that? And I somehow missed on it, and I don't even know how I missed on it. Right. And I was in California at the time, so I probably had 2 or 3 shots to go. But so, yeah, unfortunately, both of those are pretty much done. So I guess I can't really experience them now.
Oh yeah, that 95 convention was it was something else. It was something else. I remember I was doing a summer camp for special needs kids, and the convention happened to come in between my break between 2 sessions. So I came back from the camp, went to the expo, came back, went to the camp. I was exhausted, but oh my God, what an experience! You know, a full day with the museum, and the guitar clinic, the drum clinic, the acoustic, the Q&A, the autographs. It was nonstop.
Yeah.
And for $100, what would it cost today? 1,000, 2,000?
Oh,
easy.
They wouldn't touch it for less than 1,000.
No kidding. No kidding.
True.
So besides, you know, writing about the vault, have you done any other Kiss-related projects or plan to do any?
I don't, because like I said, I'm not a writer. I'm a fan that does a Kiss podcast, and I'm a fan that does a rock podcast that sometimes talk about Kiss. I can barely read. I don't even like write. I am so impatient. I can't even listen to an audiobook all the way. I've only listened to 3 audiobooks all the way through. I have like 100,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I I'm more of a music critic, right? That's kind of where my life is at. The stuff that Julian's doing and all the power to those guys. Those guys really know what they're doing. And when I read some of the stuff they write, I'm like, oh my God, I could never write like this. Like I
Yeah.
write as I speak. This
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
eighth grade remedial writing. Like this is
Right.
not good to sell books with. And I even say that in the reviews. This is not written by a writer. I don't know if any of the stuff I'm writing is even accurate.
It's incredible what Julian does, man. First of all, his books are so well written. There's so much minutia in there, and you're like hundreds of pages, and
Yeah.
they're just incredible
It's
reads.
pro. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really, really pro. And Sonny, I was thinking as you were talking about writing and stuff, but given that you're a true fan of music, have you ever thought of getting involved in any his music related project? Let's say that it's not about books or about anything, but something related to music.
Yeah, I wanted to get into music to begin with. That's what my life was going to be. It's very complicated. I've got connections in that business, but I don't really have the patience. It really ends up being
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah.
I am a unbelievably organized person, and when you deal with artists, it
Yeah.
is very frustrating
Yeah.
because they're just not the most organized folks on the planet because
Yeah.
what they do is unbelievable to me and I
Yeah.
can't do what they do. I have a
Right.
creative side. It comes out every once in a while, but it's not always on,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if I had a way to do it, I would do it. It would just have to be a way where I'm not the only guy running it, if that makes
That's
sense.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to be so stressed. Yeah. I think it's the nature of the business, right? So it's
Yeah.
if you're getting into that, so you're going to be exposed to all kinds of unpredictable things, that are going to happen. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. And at 53, I don't know if I can deal with that.
That's right. Yeah. Sonny, listening to you on podcast Rock City, it is clear, even though you say no, that you are very, very knowledgeable in your history. Okay, so this is a fun part of the episode, and we would love to get your take on some topics that we already covered in our discussion panel. So as you know, we had many different episodes where we discuss with friends and fans different topics. And we once had one that it was called the Kiss Narrative, okay, where we looked at books which best contributed to our knowledge of history. So, and I remember that was one of my favorites because I love, Kiss books. And in your opinion, which book or books best contributed to our knowledge of history?
Yeah, I can tell you it's none of the books that the artist wrote.
Okay, fair
Right.
enough.
Right.
Same for us. Same for us.
Yeah.
The 4 guys behind you that wrote a book, they have 4 different stories.
Yeah.
I'll give you 3. First one that comes to mind is Kiss Alive Forever. Kurt Gooch,
Yeah.
Jeff Seuss, you guys talked about that.
Yeah.
I love the data. I constantly, just like you guys do, use it as a reference point.
Yeah.
There is so much data in there that you can make trivia out of. It's unbelievable. And it'll come to, on Growing Up Rock, my other podcast, we'll talk about a specific date. And we'll talk about, when Judas Priest was found innocent of what they were charged with, right, for those 2 kids dying. Okay, well, what was Kiss doing on that day? And bam, right back to that book, right?
Mhm.
So it's a incredible reference material. Kiss Behind the Mask. You guys talked about this, Ken Sharp. Pask even said the musician comments on the episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I love about that book. It's this band. The fandom is so wide, right? There's so many people that are fans of this band that you wouldn't even think you're a Kiss fan. Like, really? Why? Right?
Mhm.
So, and there's so many, I guess, nuances to the band. And, some came in with jeans, stupid reality show, and they
Yeah.
call themselves a Kiss fan, right? Or
Yeah.
what was it? What is it? The Arena Football League team.
Yeah,
Like, what, they
LA
owned that
Kiss.
for like 2 years?
Yeah.
You know, so that book I like, and then Kiss and Sell. And Kiss and Sell, you guys talked about it again. Like, we don't know if all the data is correct, but like I said, I was trying to get in the music business. So any book that shows anything behind the scenes by a music insider that is not
Exactly.
one of the band members
Yes.
is very, very interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And the business,
So-
you know, the business perspective, you know, that he was
Yeah.
given, you know, that's so interesting. So interesting.
Yeah, and the music business always surprises me. There's a lot of money moving around,
Yeah.
but and how complex it is. What it takes to really pull off just one show
Yeah.
is unbelievable, right? We
Yeah.
just show up and leave and say, they didn't play blah 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 song, but
That's
what
right.
they had to do to put that together is amazing.
Yeah. And that everything has to work, and actually that it's profitable, right? So they
Yeah.
make money out of that. You know, that's not easy.
Yeah. So I would say those are the 3 books. I will also tell you, out of the 4 band members' books, Paul's my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I started reading Mask Hysteria again from Julian Gill, and it got me to go back to his earlier books and reading about history. And like you said, you know, we go to a concert, we enjoy it, we leave, fantastic experience. But what went behind all of that? The things that band went through in the last 50 years, it's just incredible. How they're still around, and Sammy's saying it's incredible.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Okay, so we did another episode called The Many Faces of Kiss, where we looked at the diversity of the Kiss sound. So for you, what were your 5 definitive Kiss albums? I know one of them's The Elder.
Yeah, that's not on the list. So here's my 5. Kiss Alive, of course, right? Because when you listen to the first 3 Kiss albums, and I remember when I first heard Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill in the original Kiss album, I'm like, why is it so slow? Right? Because you got to remember, I'm coming from Fast Kiss. So I'm like, God, this
Oh
man
yeah,
is
the 80s.
really
Of course.
slow.
Yeah.
Right? And that guitar player is not Bruce. Right? So until I heard Kiss Alive, I'm like, okay, now I get it. They were a 70s band, and that was kind of a 70s thing, but it didn't really sell what they were, where I think Alive sells better who they are. Love Gun is a definitive album for me. It feels like all 4 members are at the top of their game. You finally get to hear how Ace sounds singing. Now, we know history behind the scenes. The cracks are starting to show, and they're about to end.
Yeah.
But to the outside, they're at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Destroyer's a little overrated. I think Love Gun is really the peak for them. Lick It Up, because immediately you get the feeling for, you know, whether you love Vinny or hate Vinny, whether you like Bruce better, whether you like Mark St. John better, whatever, you immediately get the feel of, from Exciter, what Fast Kiss is going to be.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a definitive album for me. People are not going to agree with this one, but Crazy Nights. Because you could argue, and I grew up at that time frame. I'm at 18 when that album comes out.
Yeah.
And if you want to cast a wide net and get the Whitesnake fan, the Rat fan, the Motley Crue fan, the Bon Jovi fan, Crazy Nights has all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they were writing pop, sensible songs. If you were a Heart fan, there's no reason to not like Crazy Nights, because it's very, very similar, right? And the same producer too at that time, right? So that's very definitive to me. And then the last one might surprise you a little, and that is Kiss Unplugged. Because for these simple songs, we've heard Paul call them simple. When you hear them unplugged, they're actually damn good songs.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unplugged,
right?
it's unbelievable.
I'm just going to take a wild guess that Accept songs don't sound great acoustic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not all songs sound great acoustic, but these do.
Yeah.
So Kiss Unplugged is definitive for me.
It's interesting that Kiss Unplugged came out just before the reunion, because Kiss has always been about the spectacle, the makeup, the show, you know. But with the 80s, it became more about the music. And I think it really solidified that with the acoustic just before the reunion. Like you said, these are actually really good songs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think what happens is the competition changes. You
Mhm.
see it on Monsters of Rock cruise. I gave somebody this an example the other day. Firehouse. Band's been around
Yeah.
forever, right? I've seen them live every once in a while. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. They get on Monsters of Rock, and the Monsters of Rock has European bands on there too. So the European bands are trying to get US fans. They go to these cruises and they kick serious butt. Firehouse had both of their shows the tail end of the cruise. They saw all these bands on stage on fire. By the time Firehouse was on stage, it's like, wow, they got some fire to them tonight. So I think the competition in the
That's true.
80s put Paul in a position where it's like, well, I could write those kind of songs
Yeah.
and
true.
I can do it just as good. And the competition makes you great.
Yeah.
True.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And actually, you know, if let's say that if we suppose that there was never a 70s Kiss, you know, 80s Kiss just by itself, you know, it was a huge band. You know, it was fantastic what they created. You know, it's Crazy Nights. You know, you put it the right way. You know, it can be put, you know, back to back with any of the albums that year. You know, definitely.
Yeah, and they don't have to fight that was the face painting band.
No, that's
Mhm.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
still
yeah.
around,
Yeah,
right? If they just start in 83,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
bigger than Rat and any of those guys for sure.
yeah. They're definite, different identity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sonny, anyone who knows you well is aware of your, let me say, you're laughing already, your love for the elder. Okay. As you know, we did an episode with our dear friend Christopher Boryards asking the question, did history judge the elder too harshly? Okay. First, have you listened to the tribute of the elder called Ancient Door?
I have listened to Agent Door.
Okay.
Let me share something before I share how I felt about that. Okay. I will tell you, I can be a flexible individual. I'm gonna give you a couple examples, right?
There you go. I
If you
love
ever
it.
heard,
I love the entrance that you're.
Yeah.
I know where you're going.
If you've ever heard Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, absolutely hated the song when I first heard it. Hailstorm did a cover. I'm like, oh my God, that song's great. That's how it's supposed to sound. Right now, I love the song.
Yeah.
Cold Turkey. It's a song by John Lennon. I remember when I first heard it, I'm like, ugh, hate this kind of music. And then somebody goes, oh, Enough's Enough did a cover. I'm like, oh my God, I hate Enough's Enough. I can only imagine what that sounds like. Listen to it. I'm like, wow, that really fits what they do. John Lennon did that song. I don't remember that song being that good, right? So my mind can be changed. I will tell you, Christopher did an outstanding job on Ancient Door. He put some modern touches on it, added some oomph, put some chug in, put some real guitars, didn't change the arrangements too much, so it still had the musical theater, the feel that the band was looking for. All that being said, I hate the songs. I just don't like it's not Christopher's fault. The songs are
The songs. Okay,
good.
it's about the songs. Okay.
Yeah, and
I
get it. It was supposed to be their Welcome to My Nightmare or Be There, The Wall. I hate those two albums. I can't stand Pink Floyd, right?
Yeah.
So it's just not my kind of music. Now, Christopher's probably listening. Can you do that with Unmasked? That'd be great because I love that album. And I would really enjoy an Ancient Door Unmasked. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Good idea. So now, you know, as a continuation of this question, so the obvious one, you know, comes up. Do you believe history has judged the elder too harshly, independently of your taste, if you like it or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been judged harshly, you know, because were Paul, Gene, Ace, and Eric trying to do something to make everybody mad? I mean, they're just artists, right? They're trying to make the best decision for the time frame that they're in. Yeah. Yes, there's people in their ear about, hey, you should do this, hey, you should do that. The wall's been huge, blah, 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 whatever. You're always listening to people that are around you. So they didn't set out to put out this album that, you know, some people are going to love, some people are going to hate. But I think you guys would agree, any band that's been around 50 years have got albums like this.
Yeah.
right? They've got something in their history that the band, like Iron Maiden, dude, those 2 albums with
Yeah.
Blaze.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God, people
Yeah.
rip those 2 albums apart. They're
Yeah.
not that bad. Blaze isn't Bruce, right? But so every band has this kind of stuff, right?
True.
In the end, I've judged it harshly. Hell, Paul's judged it harshly.
Yeah.
Gene said it was a bad idea. Ace has
Yeah.
said it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably a little bit of, armchair quarterback, Monday morning quarterback, rewriting history a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a lot of people that love it, love what you love. It just doesn't do anything for me.
It's interesting when you mentioned before, I was paying special attention when you mentioned Destroyer. Okay, that to you, Destroyer is kind of, you didn't put it as one of your faves. And the common denominator, it's Bob Ethring, right? So every time Bob got into the picture, Kiss did something different. Okay. And I think with The Elder, they went to the extreme with the theme album. Of course, it was not going to be rock and roll. It was not going to be not even pop or anything or a sequel of a mass. That's for sure. With Bob Ethring, forget it.
Yeah, yeah. And, by the time he gets involved in the 90s, maybe there's not as much cocaine flowing. Who knows?
That's right. Yeah. Better quality. Who knows? Yeah.
But I got to tell you, after listening to Christopher's tribute, I had a deeper appreciation for the album, because after listening to that, like, okay, I get it now,
Yeah.
And now I'm reading the Odyssey again from Julian, and like the story behind what happened then, just intriguing. It's incredible they got through that era, just unbelievable.
Yeah, and still around. Amazing.
Still around. Yeah. So speaking of still around, and maybe not so much longer now, The End of the Road is on the minds of every Kiss fan. And Sonny, in Joe's defense, I've seen them 8 times now, and I'm going 5 more before the end. Just so you
He's
know.
laughing.
Am I missing something? It's the same setlist. I saw it in Vegas at the February show when they started. I don't need to see it again.
After the final show in New York, I was seeing Kiss a grand total of 77 times in my lifetime.
All right. Pask, you're a homer too. Well, we love you.
Yeah. I'm in good company, Joe. Okay, so speaking of which, we did an episode called Going Solo, where we talked about Paul, Gene, Ace, and Peter's solo efforts. So a 2-part question. First, which original member of Kiss were most successful doing solo?
No doubt in my mind it's Ace. Right, those first 4 solo albums, if you include the 78 solo album, you put those 4 together, absolutely outstanding. I love what Ace did on them. I love what Todd did on them. We know Ace wasn't sober the entire time. Whatever. There's a lot of people I listen to that are not sober the entire time.
Yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't matter, right? What Ace has been doing on recordings the last 5, 6 albums, I'm hit and miss on that stuff. But those first 4 are great. Paul, he has minimal output, first of all. And what he has out there is okay. And I love that 78 solo album. Paul's my favorite out of those solo albums.
The 78.
Right. Yeah, mine too.
Gene solo album. I didn't like the 78 album. I don't like the Asshole album. Like, it just meh. And then I'm sorry, the stuff Peter did is almost not listenable. Like, the 78 album, I can somewhat tolerate. Dude, some of the solo stuff after that, I can't find 10 good songs I can listen to. Mm-hmm. And I think if Peter would have went the Bob Seger route,
yeah,
right, instead of the Drifters route, maybe he does a lot better. But I don't know, if he had his mind all together either. He was going through his things. So yeah, Ace without a doubt has had the best solo career, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And you also covered this a few episodes ago on Podcast Rock City. Where would you like the band to be after the end of the road?
Yeah, so, just talking about the 4 originals, I think Peter's done. He's near 80. He earned the right to be able to spend the rest of his time with his family. You might see him at a convention here and there. I saw him at Creature Fest. That may be the last time we see him, right? Mm-hmm. He's frail, right? He's he's older, and I
He's
think that's
tired.
okay.
He's
Yeah,
tired.
he's tired.
Yeah.
Ace, I think he's going to end up outliving all of us. The running joke is him and Keith Richards are going to outlive the cockroaches. I don't know how they're going to live past me because everything you read, they should already be gone probably, right? But somehow he's going to be going forever. Now, I love Ace. Ace is my favorite band member, always has been. I identify with Ace the most. I drank like Ace when I was drinking. He is my guy. I have to say, though, he is somewhat tarnishing his legacy right now because this last 5 or 7 years, if you've seen him live, some of it's rough. Like
Have you
recording
seen him?
albums.
Have you seen
I
him
have.
live?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. Recording albums, one thing, right? Post editing,
Yeah.
right? But
yeah.
can Ace do a podcast? Like that would be bad.
Yeah.
Like I unfortunately, I don't think anybody's going to tell him get off the road, so he's going to just keep going.
Yeah.
Until he feels like he's done, right? Gene, I don't think Gene's done yet. I think he's too smart, he's too healthy, he's too in shape, he's too money hungry. They're all the things I cannot imagine that man retiring and just sitting somewhere not doing nothing. No way.
Yeah.
That guy wants to die at work at age 110.
Yeah.
But do you think Gene will continue doing solo shows after the end of the road, or do you think it's going to be simply merchandising?
I think he's got a couple of Gene Simmons band tour things going in his repertoire, I think you may see a reboot of the reality show, Life After Kiss, right? Reads really well. The merchandising thing, he'll have his hand in it just because Kiss will live on forever probably. But and if there's any kind of 2.0, you would think that Gene probably has his hands a little bit more in it than Paul does.
Right.
Because he wants to represent. Paul, I think he'll put his heart and soul in Soul Station. I think he'll continue to do art because it's a creative outlet. I think it'll be once a month, once every quarter, you'll see him at a Lakers game or a Chargers game.
Yeah.
Just so he can have his face out there so he can know that people remember who he is.
Right.
But he will not be out there like Gene is.
Or Taylor Swift show.
Yeah.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
Or jump on stage with Evan, right? Doing things like that.
Yeah.
Right? To keep himself in the limelight.
Yeah.
But besides Soul Station, I don't think Paul's going to go relive the 89 tour. I don't see that happening.
What's your take on Soul Station, Sonny?
I like it. I don't have any issues with it, but I like that type of music. I would rather have Paul do originals.
Yeah.
Because then you're not comparing it to old, like, come on, you can do Smokey Robinson songs. I'm sorry. People can be comparing you to Smokey Robinson. And I love Paul, but Paul was never Smokey Robinson, right?
Yeah.
So be careful kind of what you ask for. But if you write, do you remember Billy Joel's Innocent Man?
Yeah.
If you ever remember that record? He did all original songs as homage to all the people he listened to.
Yeah.
So they sound like songs of people that he listened to, but they're not their songs.
That's
so
right.
there was no comparison. Just the feel was compared.
Yeah. Well, in the case of Soul Station, my 3 favorite songs, they are Paul's songs.
Yeah.
The other stuff, it's kind of okay, whatever.
Yeah, they're like karaoke almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sonny, I don't want this to end, man. This is so cool. This is awesome, man. I love it. Let's go to the final question based on another episode that I loved, that we all loved, which was called Payment Due. Do you believe that Kiss owes their fans anything?
So here's where you'll get hate mail. So because this will be passionate.
Of course.
Okay.
That's why the question is there.
That's right. I am a resounding no. I don't. Kiss doesn't owe us anything. Coke, Pepsi, Oreos, Pizza Hut, the NFL, Spider-Man franchise, the X-Men, none of these people that provide a service or sell necessities or just provide art, they don't owe you anything. They provide, you enjoy or don't enjoy. That's it. There isn't, like, just because I drank Pepsi my whole life, the CEO of Pepsi doesn't owe me anything. just because I was loyal to the brand. Come on, guys. Let's. It's a job. They're doing a job. You happen to enjoy the job they're doing. Good for you. But when NFL fans go to the draft day and boo somebody getting drafted out of the first round, where that guy's life is going to change because he worked his whole life working through college to get to the NFL, and you're going to boo the guy because the Jets picked the wrong guy? Like, come on.
Mhm.
Right? That's like going a little too far. I don't think they owe the fans anything. I've gotten everything and more out of KISS. This room is filled with that stuff. Okay, I will enjoy it the rest of my life. It's okay.
And even, we always talk about this with Pask, that even though you might not be a collector or anything, the experiences that we went through, thanks to these guys, that's enough, man. So whatever they do, it's okay. It's okay. So
it's an amazing story. It needs to be an amazing motion picture.
Yeah.
That's what you're right. And if you want to do, from birth to 79 and then come back and do 79 to 85 and then come back and do 87 to present, like do it the history way, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't really think it can probably involve any of the band members because that's all going to get skewed. So let a fan kind of put together and go get, the right director to do the movie right, because it reads and feels like a movie.
Yeah. The fan story, man. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, listen, the best KISS merchandise out there and projects come from fans because it comes from the heart.
Yeah.
So, Sonny, one final question before we close the curtain on this episode. And we mentioned earlier how interactive podcast Rock City is, and you sort of touched on your experiences with the KISS Army. But what are your personal experiences with members of the KISS Army that you've met through your travels?
Yeah, man, the Army's nuts. I can tell you the Army is absolutely nuts. I'm a fan of many bands. There are not fans like KISS fans, right? And I will tell you, I've met some incredible people that I would call close friends, right? That have been great to me, right? Welcome me with open arms. I tell people my personality, you gotta, not the greatest first impression sometimes. I'm kind of like fine wine. I age better the longer you know me. But these fans have been great. I have met some overly passionate fans, right? That will, take Joey's side and Sonny's the enemy, or take Sonny's side and Joey's the enemy. Half the time we're just kidding around.
Right. They take it seriously.
Our opinion. It's, so they take themselves a little too serious. When you have such a big, passionate fan base, you're going to get the spectrum. You're going to get the casual folks in there.
Of course.
And you're going to get the super serious folks in there, right? And so, I'll say something about, hey, this happened on this date, and then somebody will correct me and send me a message. No. On that date, they were actually in Minnesota. They were nowhere near Ohio. And I'm like, dude, I don't need the date police after me about KISS dates. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm just a fan. Right? So I would say 9 out of 10 people I meet in the KISS Army are amazing. And then you get one overly passionate fan, like 1 out of every 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's okay. I don't think passion's bad. Right? But KISS just doesn't define my whole life. I'm into other music.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. There are so many ways to be a fan, right? There's no right or wrong. So, each one of us, we go through stuff and we live things differently, right? And it's okay as long as there's respect, which I think that's the key. Then up to you what you believe, what you want to believe. It's all good, man. It's all good.
That's what makes that one KISS cruise I went on. You could tell you have 3,000 fans on this ship, and they are passionate fans. They know everything about KISS, but they're not that uber passionate bad side fan. Yeah. They are fans of the band. It costs a little bit of money to be on this cruise, right? So they're not exactly scraping pennies together, but they really love the band. They know every song, right? They want to expand their friendships with other fans, which Man, I mean, where can you go where you're going to have 3,000 people passionate for the
Yeah.
same thing? There's not
Yeah.
that many places you can go.
True.
From around the world.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I doubt that our listeners don't know Podcast Rock City or where to find it. Such a huge podcast, but just in case, where can our listeners find Podcast Rock City?
Your favorite podcast platform, we're on all of them. If you want to hook up with us live, Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, on Facebook or YouTube is probably the easiest way. We open up the comments, so you can play along or playing trivia, or we'll ask folks questions when we get in a dead heat about some sort of situation. And there's the people that somebody reached out the other day and said, I've never said anything wrong. I'm like, oh my God, you might meet my wife and you go tell her, because all I say is wrong with her. And then some people believe Casada can do no wrong. Those people are absolutely wrong. So it's definitely a fun time. Somehow, like, we don't have a clock on it. We don't have any kind of plan. Somehow it always ends up being about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't even think Joe owns a watch.
Wow.
Right? So, it's a good time. So any of your favorite podcast platforms or Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
So unfortunately, what this episode will be released in about 2-3 weeks on Sunday at 7 p.m. So you're going to be competing with your own show.
Perfect.
So if you lose viewership, you know why, because you're on another show.
So what happens is, just as I did with you guys, somebody calls, I'll answer, right? Because it's hard to get people to answer in the music business, period, right?
Yeah, true.
So I'll answer, and that's how I end up on these shows, right? So I've been on, guesting on a bunch of shows over the last, 6-7 years. And every once in a while, because some post-produce, some hold on, some throw in vault, there'll be a week like 6 of my episodes come out. And I'll get calls from friends going, were you on every podcast this week? What happened? I'm like, no, those were actually recorded a while back. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it. It's as I said before, Sonny, this has been so much fun. It's been an honor to have you with us, and it's been amazing, man. You're such an approachable and humble, Kiss fan and friend that it was really memorable, to have you here with us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, right? I've obviously been watching you guys, so I think it was the book episode. I was like, oh yeah, Eric's absolutely right. And then I realized, I'm like, you're talking to the screen. Like, Eric can't hear you.
You're nuts.
So, no, but a pleasure to be on. Thank you so much.
I've been listening to Podcast Rock City around the same time we started doing this show.
Yeah.
And, Sonny, I've been listening to you and the rest of the gang on the show for years now. And when we got you on the show, I told Claudio, with Sonny, man, be ready for a ride of your life. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to be laughing throughout, And I was thinking, for the introduction, what should I write? And I'm thinking, when I wrote even for this episode, is it too much? Will it take offense? Will Casada get upset? I don't care about that. But you don't take yourself seriously. You just you have fun, and it really reflects in this episode. It's just so much fun to do, and I hope we could do it again soon. It was a real blast.
Oh yeah, anytime. Yeah, I absolutely don't take myself seriously. There's not really a way to get on my bad side. I've been called the Antichrist. It was the ex-wife. Okay, whatever. But it happens, right? I definitely don't take myself too seriously because life is short. I got 4 kids. They're all over 20 now.
Yeah.
Like I've been through all that.
No time for that.
Yeah. We don't got time for that.
I guess one final question before we go. It just hit me now. So what are you going to do after the end of the road?
Yeah, well, we're going to keep going with the Kiss podcast, that's for sure, because I think the storylines actually get more interesting because we don't know what's going to happen. I hope there's a 2.0 because we can kind of get interested in what 2.0 is all about. I will always be a Kiss fan, so that part I'll follow, if Gene's out there doing something or Paul's out there doing something. I hope Eric and Tommy are out there doing something. I hope it's not Black and Blue. Tommy, if you're listening. Don't like black and blue. But I will still follow the band. You know, at some point we're going to lose one of them. That will be a shame.
I don't want to even think about that.
It'll hurt my heart, just like when Prince left us, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, you don't meet any of these people, and they're not your family, but they've been part of your life.
Oh yeah.
Just as long as your family has, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to lose one of them. But no, I'm still going to be watching to see what happens, because I think it gets more interesting after they're done. How many times can you listen to the same set list, Pask? It's the same damn set list.
A lot. But you know what? The concert isn't even about the music or the band anymore. It's about the communal experience with the fans.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the only reason I go now, is if I'm going to meet somebody there, or somebody like my wife and I went one time because she had never seen Kiss before. Like, that is the only way I'll go now, because I don't really have a reason. I've seen them 40 plus times.
Yeah. I think, you know, I think I mentioned this before, but at this point in our lives, I think that everything that we do related to Kiss, it's about this. It's about us. It's about the fans, you know. So what else can you find out, you know, about Paul, Peter, Gene Ace, you know, Tommy, Eric, whoever? It's experiences that we live together, you know, the moments, and I think we have to be thankful for that, you know, and celebrate it. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, and there's nobody that's going to have the bombastic show that Kiss puts on. There's no doubt about that.
No,
and I'm never going to take that away from them.
Yeah.
But I just saw the Winery Dogs in the club, and musically, they kicked Kiss's butt.
They kicked. Yeah.
You know, come on.
Yeah.
Those three, like, come on. It's not even a contest, right? So I'd rather go see the Winery Dogs in the club, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that doesn't mean I like Kiss any less. It's just, I enjoy Kiss for what it was, what it is now, and how I kind of enjoy it. I still listen to Kiss every single day.
Yeah. I think the unique thing about Kiss is that Kiss is Kiss, right? So you cannot be compared to anything, you know. Of course, as you said before, there's so many great bands out there, you know, like playing awesome, and actually even other bands, you know, putting up huge shows and everything, but Kiss is Kiss, you know. It's different. It's different.
Yeah. And that's a nice note to end this episode. So, Sonny, thanks again. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. Great time.
Thank you so much.
To the Kiss Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. If you have any complaints, send them to Sonny. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Spotify, Podomatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.